We went from this
to this.
And today,
we'll let you know why.
Thanks to all of you who follow along, even though we change RVs every now and then. Well, maybe a little more than every now and then, but you guys are always so positive and so supportive. So when we announced our EKKO last week, we received a ton of congratulations and way to goes and all those, but we got a lot of questions too. The biggest one, I believe, might have been the question of why. Why did you switch from a Revel to the EKKO?
We love the Revel. To be honest. Yeah, totally. We totally love the Revel, but we just felt like we needed a little bit more space to be comfortable when we take those 3-month trips. We also found out that maybe our travel style isn't as adventurous as we'd like for it to be, especially for me. One of the things that the Revel really shines on is going off-road and
climbing rocks.
And Owen really wanted to do that, but I didn't feel as comfortable, as he did. So we didn't do as much as that as we thought we would.
So when you're choosing an RV, we figured out a seesaw is the way it makes sense. The RV is really good at one thing, but because of that, you have to make a compromise. And for us, the Revel was really good at climbing in hills and going off into the beaches and sand and taking you places. But on the opposite side of that, it wasn't luxurious and it didn't have a lot of the comforts of home. So if we're not taking advantage of the things it's really good at and we're putting up with the things that it's not as good at, well, it just became apparent to us that it was time for a change. So it's raining out there. That's one of the things about the space of the Revel that really played into this decision. When we could go outside and sit and it was comfortable, we could have traveled forever. But on the days that the wind would blow,
or it rained, it was hard to be inside all day.
So let's preface it by the fact that we've only had our EKKO for 1 week.
Right. And so these opinions that we have right now may change.
So the first question, we're thinking about buying a Revel. What are the negatives? I don't know that there are a lot of negatives. Like we just said, it depends on your travel style.
It definitely depends on your travel style and how long you're going to travel in it. For weekend warriors, for 2 to 3 week traveling, I think it's perfect. And if you want to get off-road and boondock, it's a great vehicle to take.
But for 3 people, well, 2 of us and a dog that thinks she's a person, 3-month trips, I think maybe we want more space. Now, some of you may think, well, you can add the GLSS system to the back of it, and that is true. We found that when we tried to mimic that before we bought it, that we were always kind of scrunching over, and it just wasn't a perfect little comfortable place.
So the next question was, why did you buy the Revel instead of the EKKO in the first place?
Pretty easy answer. We'd already put a deposit down and purchased the Revel before the EKKO was announced. The next question, we love our Revel, but can the EKKO make a big bed like the Revel has?
We really like the bed in the Revel.
Yeah.
We didn't have a problem with it, especially after we put the topper on it. But the EKKO does have the twin beds in the back, kind of like our Travato did, and we like that. We don't mind that at all. But it does have cushions that go in the middle, so it will make a big bed. It's kind of weird because in the middle, you don't have that last part for your legs, so I'm not really sure how that would work.
But unless our plans change, we plan on traveling with 2 twin beds in the EKKO because, to be honest, we love that in the Travato.
We did. Another question that we had, or why are we changing so quickly after we bought the Revel?
Well, believe it or not, it's almost been 2 years. And we've learned from 25 years of traveling in an RV that 2 to 3 years is the sweet spot, financially and as far as keeping yourself not entertained, but challenged with new things. And so this is our 8th RV in 25 years. So that's an average of almost 3 years we change RVs. And if you know Spanish, I think we're going to name her Ocho because she is our 8th RV. Now financially it makes sense if you can change before your van or RV becomes 3 years old, especially if it's a Winnebago. But we find 2 to 3 years is the perfect time frame for financially changing an RV.
So far, we have found that.
This rain and noise is going to get in the way.
Yeah, afternoon thunder showers.
Yeah.
Don't you love them? We also got the question of why the previous owner was selling their EKKO in the first place, which, you know, we always want to know that too, so we did ask.
Turns out, if you know anything about the EKKO, it hasn't had a really stellar first year of being in the market. There have been a lot of really serious recalls, and a lot of folks have been impacted by that, and the owners were as well. I think they told us it sat at the dealer waiting on recalls and repairs for longer than it sat in their driveway, so they were a little upset about that.
I don't think they felt like they were using it or utilizing it as much as they thought they would. So I think that was the main reason they were selling it.
A lot of people fall in love with the concept of van life, but when you
Or traveling
in an
life.
RV. So when you actually go out and do it, it doesn't always fit both of the people traveling. And the fact that they only got to use it 4 times in the year they owned it, they thought it was a good time to sell. Their loss, though, is our gain. Yeah. All the recalls have been done on our unit, and it's in flawless shape, and it only had 3,000 miles on it when we got it. So for us, it's almost like, and might as well be, a new RV. We're pretty happy about that. Someone said, we thought you were going to have one built.
If Owen had any kind of patience, we probably would, but he's not going to wait on having one built unless, you know, we could afford to have
two. Then we could have George build us one and we could use this one. That's still an option. How far out are they now, George? Now, there's nothing wrong with not having patience. You only live so many years on this earth and you only get to see so many sunsets. And I just don't see us sitting at home waiting for a year or two on something to be built or delivered. So we were lucky. We found this one and we jumped on it.
Right.
Someone asked, what forum or group on Facebook did you find this RV for sale? I've been looking forever and can't find one. Well, we've been looking around the EKKO Owners and Wannabes Facebook group for a long time.
Can you share the process you used to select the EKKO as your next RV?
As we're traveling, we keep a punch list of the things that we wish were different in the RV we currently have. We keep our eyes open for other RVs that may answer some of those punch lists. And then whenever we have to make a decision, we always do a pro-con list. And in the case of the EKKO, we took all those things that we thought we wanted to have in our next RV, which the primary thing was space and comfort, and we compared that list to the EKKO and created a pro-con list.
Someone also asked if we were tied to Winnebago since our last 3 RVs.
Actually 3.5, and Lynn and I argue about that all the time. We had a Grand Design, which is now owned by Winnebago. It wasn't when we bought it, but it was when we sold it. So I think we've had 3.5 Winnebagos. Do we have an affiliation with them? No. But we're open to it. You'd think they would call us, wouldn't you?
You'd think, but hey.
Our buddy Nick asked, are you going to change your name from Van Trekking Lifestyle to something else, like EKKO Trekking and
RV Trekking Lifestyle? He had some good options there.
He did. So,
but we'll ask you, do you think we should change? And if you do you have any ideas of what we should change our name to?
Leave them down in the comments.
Yeah.
So this next set of questions is all about what it's like for us to stay in the EKKO now that we've had 7 other previous RVs. And, you know, we've only had it for a week.
Right.
We've only spent maybe 6 nights in it. So take that with a grain of salt, but we'll do our best to answer some of these questions. How do you like the bathroom?
I love the bathroom. The water pressure was so much better. Not having to wait on hot water. And I really liked having a sink in the bathroom too, because I really did miss that, so you can wash your hands and brush your teeth and stuff like that. The next question is, are you concerned about parking and traveling in small towns and stuff? I'll let him answer that one.
This past weekend, we took a day trip with our granddaughter. We went to the mall and parked anywhere we wanted to. We went out to a Mexican restaurant that's not very famous for having great parking, and we found a place that we could pull through. And I don't think we're going to use it as much as a daily driver as we did the Revel, but I'm not concerned at all about parking or traveling in the EKKO. So only time will tell, but right now we haven't found any place that we could not park it. And it's been really good to have the extra space, but still be able to go places.
Right.
The next question, do you ever plan on towing a car with the EKKO? Never say never, but right now?
I don't think so.
Are you going to miss the 4x4 capabilities of the Revel?
I'm sure we will. I'm sure being in the snow and, feeling more comfortable having a 4x4, we will miss that. However, we didn't use it as much as we should have.
The thing we're going to probably miss the most, the clearance.
The clearance, exactly.
We can already tell that we miss the clearance. I think we will miss it. There's going to be a place probably when we get stuck and we're going to wish we still had the real four-wheel drive, but only time will tell.
Right. Sandra asked us, how does it drive and ride going down the expressway when it's windy?
We haven't had it on windy roads yet. I can tell you that going down the highway, it sits a little lower. It drives more like a passenger van instead of the truck that the Revel drove as. And one of the things I've noticed is that the Ford safety features are not as aggressive in how they initiate. In other words, if I was going a little bit left of the center line whenever I was driving the Revel, Lynn knew when I did that because the beep was really, really loud and it would jerk you back very aggressively to keep you right there, and it would scare you. Same thing happened whenever that happens because of wind. If it's going to push you off the road, when it thinks it's going off, that puppy will push you back into the middle really quickly. And I don't know, for me, sometimes that scared me more when it would make that aggressive move than it did if I just run off the road a little bit. The Transit is really gentle in the way that it moves you back. Now, it doesn't move you back as quickly, but it does seem to be more gentle. So we'll let you know later about how it does in the wind. But so far, driving it has been, you love it.
I enjoy driving it. It seems to me like it's smaller just because I think the front end's smaller and lower to the ground.
Someone asked, is it a Ford and does it use gas? And another person asked, how many miles per gallon are you getting? So, yes, it's a Ford Transit. Yes, it uses gas. And how many miles per gallon? I might want to go back to the days when I measured it in light poles per gallon instead of miles per gallon. But we're averaging somewhere between 12.5 and 13.5 miles per gallon. Compare that to the Revel on the Mercedes Sprinter. We were getting close to 16 to 16.5 there. Now, is that a more economical thing to use the Sprinter? Probably not, because if you look at the fuel prices right now and you do the math, it's almost a wash between the lower miles per gallon, but gas is cheaper. Yeah. If you factor into that having to buy DEF every 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 miles, then it becomes more economical. And then if you go one step further and say the Mercedes diesel service on a regular basis is many times more expensive than gas service, then it becomes more economical. But if we're just going to the pump, it seems like, one, we go get gas more often than we did with the Mercedes. But two, when we do fill up, it costs less money because there's it's gas prices and it's $1, sometimes $2 per gallon cheaper. So it seems to be on everybody's mind, and I'll let Lynn answer this because I had to bring her into riding on dirt roads, almost kicking and screaming sometimes, but she loves it now as much as I do. The question is this the end of our dirt road adventures for Van Trekking Lifestyle?
Oh, no, definitely it's not the end. I would feel better if we got a lift of some kind.
With that in mind, I've reached out to one of our local 4x4 outfitters in Charlotte, and I'm waiting back on an estimate as to could they do the lift kit for it and how much would it cost. But if you guys that are watching have already done that, send me a link or shoot me a message or a comment down below and let me know who you use to do that, because we will need to do a lift kit in order to go to some of the places we want to go.
And also let us know if you think it's worth it and if how it's worked for you.
But you don't think it's not the end of dirt roads. We love waking up somewhere that no one's within 10 miles of us. That's just awesome.
One final question. Is it
hip to be square? It's hip to be square.
Well, Maybe, but only time is going to tell. And we certainly appreciate the fact that you guys are with us on this adventure of trying to determine that. Right now, I would say yes. I feel pretty hip when I'm in my little square EKKO. But we'll see. Join us this Sunday when we take Ocho on her shakedown trip from Missouri back to North Carolina. And until then,
Happy tales.